Pope Francis, Bishop of Rome, Vicar of Jesus Christ, Sovereign of the Vatican State, and spiritual leader to roughly 1.4 billion people, died on Easter Monday. Known for championing views deemed progressive within the Catholic Church, Francis leaves behind a mourning faithful around the world. But who are his most likely successors?
Cardinal Tagle from the Philippines is widely seen as a possible front-runner of the upcoming conclave.
So could the Church soon be led by its first Asian pontiff? But first, how does one become pope? After a pontiff dies, a conclave must be convened at the Vatican to choose the next head of the Church. In theory, every single Catholic is eligible. However, since the 13th century, all popes have been chosen from the ranks of cardinals. They're senior church members, appointed by popes to serve as advisors. These princes of the Church are the only ones who can take part in the secretive ballot to choose the next Bishop of Rome. Of the 252 members of the current College of Cardinals, 135 have voting power. Francis greatly expanded the college during his time as Pope. He directly appointed 108 voting cardinals, or 80% of the electors, many of whom are from Asian and Pacific Island countries that have never had a cardinal.
I would say that the voting cardinals, majority of which have been appointed by Pope Francis, see the world, see the Church's role in the world, very similar to the way Francis sees things.
The appointments have shifted church leadership away from Europeans, as more power has been granted to Asian dioceses in particular. In the nearly 2,000 years since St. Peter was the first Bishop of Rome, every single pope has come from the European continent or a province of the former Roman Empire, except Pope Francis, who was originally from Argentina. The conclave to select a successor will be the first in which European cardinals do not make up an absolute majority. Who are the most likely candidates? Unlike a presidential election where hopefuls declare themselves candidates, prospective church leaders do not. Instead, cardinals are assessed to determine if they are Papabili, an Italian term for candidates who have at least some of the qualities needed to be a pope.
These would be the cardinals who are well known by others, who have experiences in church governance, not necessarily at the Holy See, but at least in some major dioceses. And again, they should speak Italian, and they should have a pretty good theological background.
During the 2013 papal conclave, for example, Pope Francis, then known as Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio, was among the leading Papabili. But non-Papabile candidates have also been elected in several conclaves. One example was in 1978, when Polish Cardinal Karol Józef Wojtyła was chosen and became John Paul II. Here are some possible Papabile candidates for the 2025 conclave. One of the most likely successors is from the Philippines. Known as the Asian Francis, Luis Antonio Joaquim Tagle is a former Archbishop of the Diocese of Manila.
Just looking at this background, looking at the man, if the Church wanted to continue on Francis's path, I think this is the guy that would be the one to, almost like the hand-picked successor of Francis.
Pope Francis took steps to elevate Tagle's position in the Church, actions seen by many as a way of showing a preference for his successor. Tagle led the Holy See's charitable body Caritas Internationalis from 2015 to 2022. In 2019, he was appointed to lead the Vatican's evangelization arm. The following year, he was elevated to the position of Cardinal Bishop, the highest position in the Church after the Pope. He's also seen as ideologically close to Pope Francis, holding progressive views on same-sex couples and church reforms. If elected, Tagle would become the first Asian pope.
That it's a universal church. It's not European church. It's not a post-colonial church. It's a universal church whose membership is growing exponentially in the developing world. Or the South, whichever way, whatever euphemism you want to use.
I would say that Pope Francis has done a lot of things, and not everyone agrees within the church. So he's kind of, you may say, divisive in a sense. And I'm not sure whether those European cardinals are really ready for non-European popes. Like after all, Pope Francis was an Italian in a sense, like his family was an Italian family.
Other Asian Papabili include Cardinal Charles Maungbo, Archbishop of Yangon, garnered a great respect for championing peace and interfaith dialogue in war-torn Myanmar. There's also Cardinal Tarcisio Isao Kikuchi, Archbishop of the Diocese of Tokyo. He's the current president of Caritas Internationalis. And one candidate is from Sri Lanka, Cardinal Malcolm Ranjith of Colombo. Another question that will be taken into consideration is the governance of some 12 million Catholics in mainland China.
I think it's going to matter. It is not the top issues, but it is an important issue. Other cardinals all know that the Sino-Vatican relations is something that the future Pope will have to continue to work on.
Tagle is among those in the Vatican in favor of reaching a deal with Beijing on a legal status for the Catholic Church in mainland China. The People's Republic of China and the Vatican have a long-running feud over the appointment of bishops in the country. Beijing wants to control the process, a position the Vatican has rejected. The Holy See also still officially recognizes the Republic of China in Taiwan. Beijing sees Taiwan as part of China to be reunited by force if necessary. The papacy has relied on Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State, to handle the difficult relationship. Parolin signed the 2018 accords allowing cooperation between the Vatican and Beijing to nominate bishops in mainland China. As it happens, Parolin is viewed as Papabile and a compromise candidate between progressives and conservatives.
If he is elected Pope, then we can quite safely say that he will further that agreement, try to continue to work with the Chinese government to come up with more more agreements, or at least more terms to be included in the agreements, because there are still many issues yet to be tackled.
Other Papabili candidates include the progressive Cardinal Matteo Zuppi, as well as the conservative Cardinals Robert Sarra and Peter Erdo. It may be one or none of them. In keeping with the saying in Vatican circles, you enter a conclave as Pope, you leave as a Cardinal. The phrase implies that the sacred and secretive selection process is neither a popularity contest nor a campaign. So, from the moment the cardinals are locked inside St. Peter's Basilica, the world must wait and watch until white smoke comes out of the Sistine Chapel chimney, signaling the election of a new pope.
La comunità cristiana cattolica che ha atteso oggi, ma io parlo soprattutto per chi era in piazza San Pietro,